Hi, this is Nicole, and this is the second episode of Capecchi Sessions. Yay! I'm glad you're here with me today, wherever you are in the world, day, night, afternoon. Um, Now I have to admit, I was so wrapped up in episode one, telling you about what Capecchi is and how to say it and why I created it, and talking about the author-reader relationship. I completely forgot to tell you guys about the workbooks I created. So that's what we're going to do here today. A little housekeeping and cleanup. And so hang on for the ride. No, it's nothing to hang on to. It's not that exciting. But before I get into the workbooks, I do want to give you a little background about me and who I am and kind of what gives me the authority to create creative writing tools in the first place. So the big note is that I've spent probably over 20 years working in television. Probably over 25 because those pandemic years were kind of strange. Kind of hard to believe. I've worked in production. I've worked at the studios on the development side. I've worked in post-production. I've worked in business affairs for studio and also in advertising. I've worked in commercials, worked on television shows. I've had the opportunity to see the industry from multiple angles, not languages. Sometimes I do speak other languages, but that's beside the point. From animation to music to scripted storytelling. And I've also watched the business change over the years, especially with the advance of streaming platforms. On top of that, I have a bachelor's in English, and I also have a MFA in creative writing and publishing from Emerson College. A shout out to all my Emersonians out there in the world. Um, so that's the long and the short of my pedigree. But more importantly, I spent a career in and around story, in story development, structure, story notes. I took them, analyzed structural and story problems, even story potential. And over time, I've learned that there are a few things that applies to writers everywhere. And a lot of it is many writers don't need a motivation because usually they're doing the work. They need clarity, especially if you have finished a product or a project and you see that there's issues with it somewhere. So that insight really gave me the foundation as to why I created the workbooks. It's not the writer's doom or laziness or someone being untalented. It's usually because they get stuck somewhere. And stuck can look different depending upon the person. Some writers get stuck trying to force a story in a direction it naturally doesn't want to go. Other writers get stuck because they won't allow their characters to make difficult choices. Or should I say, choices that probably they themselves would make. Yet others, they tend to rush the endings because they're tired and they just want to get finished. Um, and yet there are many writers that get trapped in the middle, that place where the story starts to sag and lose momentum or become repetitive. And that middle section can humble a lot of people. Then there's real life. There's jobs and responsibility, family, fatigue, there's overthinking, and then there's that F word called fear. Uh, and fear will keep you stuck. Writers sometimes have beautiful premises, but only one piece of the puzzle. And sometimes they don't truly know what to say. And I have to say, I have been at various stages of the things that I've just listed. And then there's an emotional price to writing. And it is sometimes bigger than what writers actually discuss. Writers have a tendency to constantly compare themselves to published authors, to viral authors, faster authors, younger authors, better marketed authors. And comparison can be the thief of joy. But for me, and I'm going to be really honest, one of the things that kept me stuck was, what if nobody liked my work? That was a question that would run through my head. Because for me, writing is personal, especially if I'm creating something literally out of nothing, out of an idea. Writing is an extension of who I am, and I would probably say for most writers, it is an extension of who they are. So that fear turns into trepidation, turns into, oh my God, am I making the right decisions for my story? And it just matriculates into something bigger. Technical writing, meh, you don't have to deal with those things because you're not really putting your neck on the line. But personal writing, you always wonder if it's going to be good enough. And that's a heavy burden to place on creativity. And it's one that many writers carry in silence. So when I created these Capecchi workbooks, I wanted to create tools that would get writers out of that emotional space and out of their heads and back into movement and into the movement of their story. It's not theory for theory's sake or fluff or even generic advice. They're actually tools that'll help you think better, diagnose faster, and move forward and get you out of that cog of emotional distress because you're not really worried about that. So let me walk you through them and explain them to you briefly. When you go to our shop on the Capecchi website, you will see that they are all listed there. But I wanted to make sure that there are some freebies because we everybody likes some free stuff, and there's a couple of free PDFs that I've made available, and I did that because sometimes we talk about whether our stories, would translate. And I'm like, I wonder if this would be a good movie, or I wonder if this would be a good television show. And so since I bridge the gap between television and publishing, and I know some of the expectations of television, I wrote a little PDF just to help writers answer those questions. And this is a free download. It is called Is Your Novel Ready for the Screen? And if you ever wondered or if ever wanted to sell to Hollywood, or to see if your story translates visually, um, because those stories have to have stronger scenes and clear stakes and sharper momentum. There's a couple of questions that are in this PDF download that will help you kind of decipher if this is something you want to take on. Can you see the conflict? Can you feel the tension? Can these moments play out on screen? And this PDF helps novelists think dynamically. So that is there for you. The other freebie I have is the story concept stress test. Yes, it is a lot, but it actually is a great download. Helps you decide if you have a strong foundation. Is your story sitting on a strong structure? It gives you a 4-point framework to test your story and the concept. Sometimes we think it's the writing, and it really is a flaw in the concept, sorry to say. So this helps you decipher that. Um, does the story have enough tension? Again, are there enough stakes? Is there enough emotional pull? That workbook helps writers test an idea early before spending years, 2, 4, 5. You know how we like to draft a lot, um, before ever seeing if it actually has legs. So you can work the idea before you actually try to output a large novel. Some some stories are meant to be shorter. Um, Not every idea is meant to be a novel. Some can be shortened to television, and some are themes, and some are seeds. In this particular download helps you figure out what those things are. And next, our next workbook is the 3-Act Structural Clarity Guide. And this kind of helps you tackle some of the structural issues that you might be facing that you're not sure what they may be. Um, Structural problems aren't mysterious. They're something that's missing, whether beats or misplaced turning points or stakes that never kind of landed fully. You can feel the result, especially if it drags in the middle or if the climax doesn't pay off or the ending leaves you and your readers kind of unsatisfied. And you can see these issues by using this guide, and it'll help you locate where the problem actually lies. This 3-Act Structural Clarity Guide is a 20-page diagnostic that walks you through the 7 load-bearing beats of a manuscript. It gives you a clear scoring system, and it tells you exactly where to direct your revision so you don't have to spend hours, days, months, years revisiting. Did you hear that? Revising one part of the story, and that may not be the part that's wrong. I like to say structure is not the enemy of creativity. It's the support system for it. And then we have the story diagnostic system. This is the grand dame. This is the one close to my heart. And this is where you do a deep dive. It is 80 pages. Some of those pages are for you to fill in later. Um, but it is to help you know where the problem lies and identify it. Is it in pacing? Is it in the pacing, the motivation of your character? Weak stakes? Is your escalation point not really there, or a flat midpoint, or your ending rushed? This workbook is help. This workbook was designed to help you figure that out. Um, It is a tool that I've actually used and I actually enjoy because it makes me really look at each section individually, and it makes me analyze whether or not what I've written is clear, is concise, and makes sense. So, this is for if you've finished your novel or you finished your short story. And by the way, all these are interchangeable. You can use them on a script, you can use them on a short story, you can use them on a novel. Um, but it's something that really helps you break down your structure and analyze it fully, and helps you get back on a road, get back on the road to moving forward, and outlining a roadmap for you. And finally, when you're done writing, and when you are ready, to query or pitch, I've developed the logline and pitch template packet. A lot of writers struggle trying to explain their story in one sentence. Um, this packet preps you for that. Usually, pitching for people, especially if you've never done it, can feel kind of muddy and heavy, and the concept may need redefinement or refinement, redefining or refinement, I should say. Um, Pitching isn't just selling, it is making sure you're selling your product with clarity. And I kind of hate to call your novel a product, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. This helps you get your story out plainly, and simply, and allows you to write a nice, tight, concise pitch. So those are the workbooks and PDFs I have on the site for you. Now, if you're wondering which one you should start with, let me kind of break down that for you. If you haven't started writing yet, begin with the story concept stress test. If you're stuck on a draft, try the 3-act structural clarity guide. And if you completed a draft fully and you feel like something's wrong, then you work through the story diagnostic system. That's how you should approach it and think about it. Once you are finished and you need a little help with your pitch, that pitch packet is there for you. These are tools to help you assess and move along and sharpen your storytelling. Oh, and I forgot, if you, again, there's the freebie. Is your novel ready for the screen? That's always there. You don't have to worry about that. At the end of the day, Capeki exists for writers who are serious about their ideas, writers who know they have something to say, and writers who don't want to wander for years uh, if better tools exist for them. So if that's you, I am glad you're here. You're talented, you're gifted. You just need to ask better questions and to use a better framework to get you out of that stuck rut you're in or to get you started. Thank you for spending these last few minutes with me and tolerating my rambling for a little bit. We're still getting used to talking for 15 and 20 minutes at a time. So it is a lot. I have always been a behind the scenes kind of person. So thank you for bearing with me. I appreciate your time. And until the next session, I hope everyone has a lovely day, evening, afternoon. Be well.